Hello everyone, and this video is probably gonna be a long one because I'm going to be talking about every single Omnitrix that we have seen throughout the entire series, so only canon ones in particular, though I'll be talking about the non-canon ones at the end, but you know, we'll get to that. I'm going to be talking about every single one that we have seen, every single one, including their function, the aliens that premiere with the watch themselves, aka, you know, where they come from originally before whatever, and other interesting things about the watch as well. So, yeah, let's just get into this because it's gonna be a long one. If you want to see more of my stuff, you can look on my Blue Sky and Tumblr also as well. Those are the two ones that I kind of do stuff on. I also have a Discord, which I'm the most active on with my own Discord, and technically have a Patreon, but I don't do much on that, so don't worry about it. But do subscribe and give this video a like if you like it and want to see more. So yeah, let's just get into the good stuff, shall we? The first Omnitrix we're going to go into is the prototype Omnitrix, the original Omnitrix that we see first in the entire series. And yes, it is a prototype to the actual completed Omnitrix, which we'll get into later, and it has many functions. Of course, its main function being, well, its transformation mode. It allows you to transform into many different aliens, originally 10, but then expanded upon later after Ben collected the aliens. Its next mode is a sort of recharge mode. Basically, it's like a safety feature. Not really for the wearer or anything, it's just like kind of, I guess more like training wheels, essentially. Later, obviously, Ben figures out that there's something called a Master Control, which gives you full access to the Omnitrix, and you don't really have to transform back into your normal form. And it gains you access to all the other features of the Omnitrix. Other features include, the collection feature, which allows to collect, old DNA that's already in the Omnitrix, so you can just gain a new transformation if you don't have access to it, or you can gain a new transformation that isn't in the Omnitrix, as shown later in Ultimate Alien with the Ultimatrix. It's shown to download or, scan DNA from the Andromeda aliens, which the Omnitrix did not have previously. It also has a self-destruct function, which apparently, if charged long enough, could probably destroy the universe or something, which is a weird thing to put in a watch like this, though granted, someone could use it as a weapon, so having it explode and get destroyed is probably a good thing, so no one can replicate it, because, just because you have the parts doesn't mean you can, rebuild it, especially if it gets blown to pieces and making it completely useless. The next mode is the reconfiguration mode, which turns, the original prototype Omnitrix into the configured Omnitrix. So it's the same watch, just it looks different. So it has all the same modes and everything. Though Ben was able to gain some extra new transformations, which I will show here on the screen along with their, species names. He also gains some extra ones later for this watch as well, which I'll put down as well. And he gained one extra one as well that was not really an alien species, but the Omnitrix just kind of made itself, that being Nanomech. So I guess it can just do that. This perfectly segues into, what we will get into, that being the variations of the prototype Omnitrix. So yeah, let's get into that. Technically, there was a variation that Albedo made himself, or at least I think he made himself, but along with that, there was also a Ben 10K that also had a variation of this that didn't allow him to transform the aliens, instead just gain their powers. Stupidest thing ever, if I'm gonna be honest. So there's that. Is a reboot version of the Recalibrated as well. There we go. That exists. There is also the an OS version for some reason, and of course there is a Gwen 10 version that looks just like the original series one, though like a little bit more bland in my eyes, but whatever. There is also a version of the prototype Omnitrix that is like a lot more bulkier, that being with Ben 10K, which there is a reboot version of it. Technically two variations from two different Ben 10Ks. Anyway, there's that. Ken also had his own version of the prototype Omnitrix. Ben's son, not the other one, Gwen's brother. I keep forgetting that he exists, if I'm gonna be honest. The last two, before going into and finishing off with the last big one, that being Ben 23 and Gwen's Omnitrix from the classic continuity. And come on, I mean, Gwen's Omnitrix here looks way better than the one in the reboot. I mean, looks a bit bland in comparison. And if I'm gonna be honest, I think these Omnitrixes fit the characters that, accompany them, essentially. So I think these fit the characters very well, especially Ben 23's. Also, I do like that, Gwen's has a little bit of detail next to the button. That's a nice touch. Before we continue on to the next Omnitrix, there is one last Omnitrix to talk about, that being the prototype, or I think prototype Omnitrix from the reboot. This could also just be the Omnitrix in this universe. I haven't read or watched. I haven't watched all of the reboot just yet, though I am planning on continuing and finishing up the rest of it. Though I will be talking about the different things and, modes of this Omnitrix. It should have all of the previous modes of the previous Omnitrixes that I've already talked about, but it does have some extra modes. It has different variations that that I'll show on screen, but here are the different modes that this one has. If you would even call this first one a mode, there are the Omni enhancements, where different versions of Ben's aliens get enhanced by the shock rock species. The technically not a mode, and more of a glitch or accidental thing that happened. He doesn't really have this anymore, but yeah. There is also the Omni Knot armor and the regular armor that he has. One's for space, and the other one is just I guess battle armor, essentially. The Omni Knot armor, I kind of don't understand it, especially since the first time we use or see it is with Jet Ray, species that can already fly out in space, so I don't really understand it, but cool armor. The next Omnitrix we're going to be talking about is the Ultimatrix, and I have a lot to say about this thing. It has all the regular stuff that the previous prototype and recalibrated Omnitrix had, but with an added feature, that being able to make the aliens go ultimate. The way this ultimate feature works is that essentially it puts the alien in a worst case scenario for millions of years, apparently by Dwayne McDuffie. And this has given, the Ultimatrix many different outcomes. You'll probably see them on screen. And there's also some extra ultimates that technically the Ultimatrix doesn't actually go through, either because it just doesn't have the, those aliens at that specific time, and mainly because they were made by, Albedo. Because Albedo had his own Ultimatrix, which was more like a DNA stabilizer type deal, which is you'll also see on screen. Next, we're going to be talking about Albedo's DNA stabilizer. This watch was less of a transformation-based device and just kind of kept Albedo, in a specific form instead of going back into his normal Ben human form. Though he was able to permanently be able to just stay in any form and also gain ultimates because of a polymorphic crystal that he put inside this stabilizer. So now he can evolve into other ultimates and stuff. You've seen a few of the his own versions from Omniverse and the Ultimatrix part, but here are some extra ones that he actually turned into in Omniverse as well. Next is a recreated version from Alpha, who is like a nanite based being from Generator X. He was able to recreate the Ultimatrix and made his own transformations, but Evo versions, that being like Humongous Orb, Heat Blast, and Forearms. They look pretty weird, to say the least. And the last one is more of a homage to, the Ultimatrix in the reboot. I mean, Ben literally wears it backwards in the reboot for some reason, but getting recognition at all is pretty nice, at least. The next one we're going to be talking about is the completed Omnitrix, and, well, there's not much to say about this one, at least. Other than the transformations, of course, it has, a DNA lock where essentially it can just wrap Ben in a transformation or whatever. With his, consent, of course. He can just turn it on. He can also just search for DNA around with it, though granted it can just lock him out of the Omnitrix for whatever reason. I don't know why that's a thing. And it also has a DNA randomizer function. Don't know why Azimuth put that in there, but okay. And as well, it has a few new transformations as well, which cool, especially Gravitac. Gravitac's definitely one of my favorite out of these bunch. There are a few for alternate versions of the completed Omnitrix, that being the Negatrix, the Bad Ben Omnitrix, the Power Watch, and the Argittrix, and I'm also going to put the Zombietrix in here, even though it more lines up with possibly a prototype. I'm just putting it in here just, because why not? And it was alongside the other ones during the Time War anyway. All of these should have all of the, the aliens that the regular watch does, and should be about as powerful as the original as well. And also there is a completed Omnitrix in the reboot as well. Now we are on to the last stretch, and we're going to be talking about the Biomnitrix, and its main function is essentially, well, it's two Omnitrixes that can help you fuse aliens together, and we have a few, of those that we can see here. It should have all of the abilities of the previous Omnitrixes, the failsafes and all that, maybe, but it's also apparently weak to electromagnetic pulses and, stuff of the like. So it could potentially be weaker than the actual completed version. Ben did make this one, so sounds about right. Another and very weird one is the Unitrix, or Eunice. Yes, this is a person, like a person Omnitrix. It's weird. The Unitrix or Eunice, essentially their main gimmick or whatever, besides, being a person, is that they can basically just copy the powers of one thing that they touch. And this goes for anything. This also affects animals and stuff like that. Like, their powers work on animals. And their abilities that they get, depends on what animal or what being that they, touch. Though they do not get all of the powers, as shown with them with an Argittrix. They only get, enhanced agility and strength. They also used the power of a bear, which gave them super strength. A rabbit gave them super jumps, and snake, which is super flexibility, I guess. The next copy of the Omnitrix being the Nemetrix, and this is a special version specifically filled with a bunch of, predators, specifically tailored towards Ben's, watch. It can also make the predators go ultimate on top of, the regular transformations, though it's only really been shown to do that with one alien, that being the Penuncian. The last watch we're going to talk about is the Antitrix. This was mainly used by Kevin and was made by him, but the idea was kind of like beamed into his head or into his dreams by Vilgax. But don't worry about it. It's like reboot weirdness. It happens. The difference between this and like the regular reboot Omnitrix is that this one is sort of like a DNA like fuser. It essentially fuses DNA together and makes like mutated, aliens essentially. And a lot of these aliens are pretty cool, if I'm gonna be honest. I actually like a good few of them. There's some of them definitely that don't hit, but I'll probably rate them in like its own video. So yeah. And that's it. That's all the Omnitrixies. If I missed a few, go tell me in the comments, or if you just want me to go more in depth with a few of these that, I just didn't before or whatever, whether it be the aliens or predators, I guess. But if you guys want to see more videos like this, do give this video a like and subscribe. You'll be able to see more Ben 10 content from me, or just other stuff that I feel like posting on the channel. Do go down and check out my socials, well, if you want to, that is, or just the stuff down in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.